So thank you again, everyone, for joining our webinar today on the topic AI Assistant for Proficy. Today we have with us Smita Bhatt, who is the Senior Technical Product Manager at Proficy Software and Services at GE Vernova. We also have Randy, who's the Business Consultant at Proficy Software and Services at GE Vernova. So with that, next slide. So some housekeeping items, make sure that you're muted. If you do have any questions, you can put it on the chat at any time. We will answer your questions at the end. We will also address them as they come on the chat. So definitely we encourage people to ask those questions. If you need any technical assistance, you can directly reach out to me at my email address provided here. This session will be recorded and shared with you after the call on a thank you email. And then we will have a post-event survey in the end. We heavily encourage you to take the survey so that we can improve our webinar sessions in the future. As I have introduced our speakers today, we're really excited for them to present on this topic. And with that, I will pass it to Smita to walk us through our presentation today.
Just a quick safe harbor disclaimer for everyone. And with that, I'm just going to go ahead into our chat, our AI assistant session. So we have a number of initiatives, and we've been investigating a number of use cases or problem statements where AI can be leveraged. And one such use case is around visualization. So basically, you chat with your Proficy data, and you basically are able to visualize it. Okay. This initiative is based off of Proficy Operations Hub. For those of you who do not know Operations Hub, it is our centralized environment to rapidly build industrial applications and design operation interfaces, enabling plant operations, analysis, decision-making for plant personnel across a enterprise. Now, there are several functionalities in Operations Hub. You have data connectivity to various data sources, modeling, out-of-the-box widgets, custom visualization, and several screen building functionalities like drag and drop, powerful layout options, etc. Now, how did this initiative start? It started as a proof of concept overview. Our goal was to use AI to create a simple dashboard in 5 to 10 minutes. A 5x improvement in building time was a goal that we set for ourselves. And how do we define the success? It's the ease of learning prompts. So basically in natural language, how many prompts and how easy is it to build this dashboard? The time to create the dashboard, the resemblance to a desired dashboard that a user needs, and the number of prompts required to refine it to get to that desired dashboard. So in our rapid application development journey, today our journey involves, user creates a page, user decides what visual element they want to see their data in, user adds the data to the page, user then has to configure the visual element, and user has to configure the data they want to see, and then they save, and then they view the results. Now with AI, with some natural language prompts, basically I can say what data am I interested in, how would I like to see the data, in what kind of visual format do I want to see the data, where do I want to see the data on the page, how do I want to configure the data fields, do I want to see the min, do I want to see the max, do I want to see ranges on my gauges, things like that. All of those can be actually used as natural language prompts in AI. So basically, the user creates a page, has a number of prompts, and then saves the app and sees results. That is the goal that we are trying to get to. So the proof of concept flow, it started with an AI assistant with prompts and answers. It goes to a Gen AI LLM service. There is some sort of file created in the background, something that Operations Hub understands. It is built within the Operations Hub constructs, and then the visualization element is created, and then the user goes back and does a set of refinements and comes back and gets to a desired dashboard that they want to see. Now, what does the solution overview look like? There is data pre-processing. What does that mean? It is this section down below. So a lot of ingestion happens in terms of basically looking at what are the user guides that we have, all the component templates that are used within Operations Hub, fed into Amazon Bedrock, and then, for lack of a better term, we have a dictionary of sorts which has all of the visual elements, the data sources, their properties, etc., that the AI agent can then use. Now, the user will have his prompt in natural language. It could be something as simple as show me the flow on pump 1A, right? Something as simple as that. Now, this prompt is sent to the LLM. The LLM will call the tools to get the relevant domain knowledge, right? And the domain knowledge is then sent to the LLM, and the LLM translates the user's prompt into Operations Hub terminology. And then in the post-processing, it constructs the XML, which is a construct that Operations Hub understands, and then it builds the visual screen for the user. I know I said a lot. Any questions so far? Okay. I'm going to hop onto the next screen then. So here are some demo screenshots. On the left side, you will see the AI assistant. And in that, I'm not sure if you can read it, but it says, you know, I want to have a card. I want to have a page with 2 cards. On the first card, I want to see the value of pump 1. And then on the second, in the first card, I also want to see the value of the other pumps in the text widget, and so on and so forth. In the second card, I would like to see it in separate solid gauge widgets, the same values for the current value for those flows on each of those pumps. I want to see it in gauges. And then I can say in the third card, I would like to see the value in a grid. And then in the fourth card, I would like to see how my pumps are doing in the last 1 hour. And then I get a line chart. Now, there's some amount of intelligence built, right? It has to be able to learn from your previous prompts. Now, current value means it's a single instance, a single value that it has to show. That means there are only so many number of widgets that you can use for current value. Like, for example, if I want to see how is the current flow on the pumps, I can use like an indicator widget, a gauge widget, a text display. Now, if I want to see how did the pumps do last week, I could use a grid, I could use a line chart, but that's how it's learning in the process. So the next time I come around, based on previous history of usage, it's going to recommend a widget that it thinks is suitable based on its previous learnings. I'm going to go into a quick demo that we just pre-recorded demo. Now here is something where I say I want a page with 2 cards, and then it's going to create the XML construct because it went after the LLM. It translated the user prompts, and then it built a page which I can then bring into Operations Hub, and I can see how the screen looks. Now this is something as simple as 2 cards. Now I'm going to say I would like to add like a text display which shows the value of pump 1.flow. And again, it's going to go into that card and add a text display. And then I'm just going to move in a little forward just so that you get an idea of where we are. Next, it's going to import it in. You should see the value. Now I'm going to say I want to see it in separate text displays, the value of pump 2, 3, and 4 in that same card. And it should show you the value for those 4 pumps in a text display. So let's move forward a little bit. And yeah, you should see that. Now I'm going to go in and say, I would like to see a second card which shows the value of pump 2, 3, and 4 in a separate solid gauge widget. And now I should see another card with 4 gauges with the values of the current values of those pumps. I'm just going to fast forward a teensy bit. And then I say I want to add a third card to the right of the first card, and I want to see the current value in a data grid widget. So now I should have 3 cards, one with text display, one with solid gauge widgets, one with a grid, which shows all showing the current value for those pumps, right? So you can see that happen. And then if I just launch it in and see the runtime, I should be able to see, there you go, right? Now I can say I want to add a 4th card and see the historical values in a line chart. Now, in this case, I'm actually saying I want a line chart, but typically, if I can just say historical values, it should be able to suggest a list of widgets which says, like, do you want it a data grid? Any widget that serves an array of values, it should be able to suggest that, and then the user should be able to pick from that, and possibly even default to one or to a widget that it thinks is the most suited for that question. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is now that I have a dashboard, a sort of dashboard which shows the status of the pumps, I can now play around with the background colors. I can set ranges on the widgets. All of these should be possible through the natural language prompts. I can even set the min and max on my gauges. I can set the time on my charts. All of these should be possible through natural language without having to understand the constructs within the visualization tool that we're using, right? So this helps somebody who just wants to see a quick overview of how their plants are doing. They should just be able to do that with a few prompts. I can also batch these prompts, just showing for granularity's sake. I'm just showing you how it goes through step by step. But we can also have, batch some of these prompts and say, I want to have a single card with 4 text display widgets showing the value for each of my pumps. And that should get me, one prompt, I should be able to see the value of my pumps. And so you can see now I've changed the ranges on my gauges. I have used decimal places on my visual elements. I've added labels now. I'm adding labels to each of my text displays. So this is how all possible just using a few natural language prompts within the chat assistant. So if I move forward in here, this is what the final dashboard looks like, where you can see some labels, you can see some gauge ranges set, you can see the charts, you can see grids. You can also create another page. I'm working on, as we are speaking, we are working with enhancing this natural language, so you can create an app, you can create a page, you can add and duplicate the page. You can do all of that through natural language prompts. I think that possibly is the end of this demo. And then I'm just going to go. Yeah, now it's time for questions. And then before we head off into questions, I think there's a survey that Aruni was alluding to. So if you could just scan and then just answer some of the survey questions, it'll help us serve you better for the next webinar, and we can learn from the questions here. With that, that's all I had to show off for this. If there are any questions, happy to take them.
Peter, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yeah.
I can or I cannot?
You can. That's okay.
Okay, sorry. My question is, I know you said this model is still learning. So what's the confidence level and how much validation does somebody have to do with the outputs?
So we are working, like I said, this was a POC that we are now working to productize it. And so, Peter, we are working on some of the validation pieces right now. Most in the little test, in the testing that I've been doing with the work that's happening with the development team right now, there is I want to say almost 80% confidence in what we're getting back, because I am evaluating what comes out of the prompt versus what comes out of when I actually build the screen. So but there are still a few edge cases that we have to go after. So if you want an official answer, I'm still working on that for now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We have another question on the chat from Steve. When would you be able to include plant abs variables?
So it's good that you're asking that question. There is another initiative which also is along the same lines, which is actually talking to plant apps data, and it talks about visualization. It could be within the chat in the assistant itself, or it could be within operations hub. That is something that is still being worked on. I know we've just gone through the architecture with that, and I see the user flows there, and they do talk to plant apps data. It could be I want to say it's either GraphQL as well as I want to say GraphQL as well as SQL data. And they have a query orchestrator that will take all those queries and aggregate the values and show it in visualization. That's something that's happening in parallel. I'm sure in another few months, we should be able to see something around that.
Thank you. Any other questions? You can also feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question at this point, if you had any. And if not, we have a question on the chat from Sharian. The question is this something that will be available in 2026?
We are working on trying to plan a release around this. It is something that we're looking for in upcoming 2026. Whether it'll go out with a specific release, that is yet to be determined.
Thank you for the questions. Any other questions?
Yeah, one question from here. This is Jack. I see the example is using pump as a demo. How about gas turbine? And what's the timeline for gas turbine?
It will all work with that. In fact, this is just using pump. I do have a utilities model also that we're working with, and it should be able to accept those variables also, right? So we are testing with a variety of models. This is like a pump station. We have utilities generation. We should probably test with turbines, etc. Yes, we'd go through the whole flow.
What's the timeline for that? Do you have?
So this whole initiative that we're working on right now, it is scheduled, like I said, for sometime next year. Exact time to be determined.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And just to have people understand, there is a model that's already ingested. So the assumption is that there is a model already created, and that model is already ingested, right? And so when the AI agent comes and it's already ingested the model, be it turbine, be it pump station, be it utilities, whatever that is, that's already ingested when you bring that in. And then there are associated visualizations that it should learn from the modeling, right? And say if it's a pump, then this is what it would use. If it's a turbine, then if there is no associated visualization, it's going to have to suggest a few visualizations for that. So we are learning with different models, and that is what is ingested into the as it does the pre-processing.
Bruce, you can unmute yourself for your question.
See, when you're talking about the model, I'm just wondering whether this model can be sort of like trained with our own data. Let's see, the template, right? So, and generate whatever looks like our system. Let's say if we customize it.
So you're saying that there's a custom model, and can you use that? Is that the question?
No, I'm just wondering whether your model you have to on this. Is that possible to customize it?
So
or the model can be trained with user data. Well,
correct. So the model that I'm right now showing is something that's built in Operations Hub, and we are moving into the Data Hub world where we would have a common data model and a common namespace and a common data fabric. And this eventually will live on that Data Hub and will actually start talking to that data. So,
okay, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for all the questions today. If we don't have any more questions, please take 1 minute to take this survey, provide us with your feedback. This is also a good way for you to ask for a follow-up discussion if you were interested to learn a little bit more. So if you can just take a minute to take the survey, that would be great. And this session will be recorded and it will be sent to you on a thank you email after the webinar. And thank you, Smita, for a great presentation.